So certainly the focus thus far has been on the not insignificant project of ensuring that every undergraduate student has a real opportunity. Having said that, it is a conversation that is happening, and I'm going to point to, Kate didn't know she was going to be answering a question, but Kate is probably best equipped to take this one. So Kate?
It's a great question, and yes, we have been looking into this. So our next session we start the first PACE MRes unit, which will definitely be a pipeline for students who are able to do that and then either move into the PhD program or onto employment. So we often get employers who sort of say, well, we want undergrad students, but we actually want postgrad students as well. So we'll be able to channel them in. And we're hoping that that's just the start of that pipeline. So absolutely, we're onto that and work on that. But I thought, Chi, maybe you might want to comment.
I guess, yeah, it's quite interesting, I suppose, because from my perspective now, I'm a sessional lecturer, a tutor. So I'm on like both sides, as a student and as an educator now, and I've definitely seen the advantage that PACE has provided me. I want to have a career in academia, and I'm under no illusions how difficult that's going to be. But the one thing linking PACE with HDR and employability is the single factor that is most important in determining future success in academia and in research is early success. And I think really with PACE, it really sets you up with that sort of early advantage. When I did my PACE project, I was fortunate enough where I went to the Australian Conference for Undergraduate Research. And that was also, it was amazing timing for me. It was also combined with the Posters in Parliament session. So I got to present my research to Parliament House and some of the politicians. So I definitely see the need to bring PACE into MRes and things like that. From my perspective as a HDR student, I fall under many research groups, but one of them is the Audiology and Hearing Research Group, which Catherine McMahon and David McAlpine currently lead. And we are currently, as a research group, recruiting PACE students. So we, as a PhD student, I've supervised one PACE student, and hopefully we'll have another PACE student, hopefully in session 2 of this year, to work directly under my PhD project. So I think with PACE, it's a really interesting sort of cyclical sort of process where you go from student and you start taking on these supervision roles and feeding forward.
So Denise has got...
We have an initiative in WA. I don't know if you have something similar. Sorry, back to you. I don't know if you have something similar in New South Wales or other states where we work collaboratively, the 4 publicly funded universities in WA, on a project called iPrep. And basically what happens is the PhD students, once they've submitted their PhDs and they've got that long wait where they're a bit in limbo, they work collaboratively, or there's projects that are put out there from industry, and students, PhD students from the different universities go into industry and work on those in the workplace, which gears them up, ready, obviously developing, non-technical skills, etc. And it really fills that gap and gives them a bit more idea of where they want to head to once they've got their actual thesis back. So
and that's funded by the WA government?
It's a collaborative project. Funding-wise, I'm not quite sure where the fund, but it's a collaborative project between the 4 universities, and it's really grown in size. I mean, it doesn't have to be a collaborative project. It could be something that the university takes on individually, but it's been very highly regarded by industry locally, and the students are given very meaty projects to work on, and it spans across different discipline areas as well. International students, certainly work experience is very highly valued by them, and they often choose their study destination based on where they think they can get work experience. There's evidence for that. So in terms of improving that for them, going down alternative will models is one. pathway. But in terms of placements, which I think is what they're really after, experience in that area, we found there's a few things. First of all, they tend to have very high expectations among international students of where they're heading. And I've sat in interviews with international students, said, okay, to try and ascertain what their preferences are. And they'll say, oh, well, I only really want experience in the Big Four. I need to be on St George's Terrace, which is our main area in Perth. So we have to kind of wheedle them down and say, actually, you could end up in a not-for-profit, working, this is an accounting student, for example, working in the accounting department or whatever the different options might be. So I think managing their expectations is one thing, but also managing the expectations of the employers. And we're doing quite a lot of work in this area on what do you want from the student, and also trying to promote the international students in terms of the language skills that they have, and also the cultural background they have. So we've made quite a point in our school in the last couple of years, and with some success, of thinking very carefully about the cultural fit of where we can put the international students. We have about 30% of our students are international that we place, and thinking where will they get most value and where will the employer get most value. So I think spending time on that, so obviously targeting companies that have a global outlook that might have, we've had Vietnamese students go in where they're doing work with Vietnam or trying to, they bring in their cultural background, it's an advantage. So I think that's really helpful. The other thing that we've introduced is a stepping stone will unit in the second year, which launches next semester, and really it's community focused, but the idea is for them to improve their communication skills, because that's one of the areas of concern among employers, improve their communication skills and get them to understand more about the Australian workplace so they're better prepared. So we can truly say to employers when they go into their final year unit, which is more corporate based, being in business, that they are prepared in all those areas and it's not going to be problematic for you. And we're hoping that will be another solution. But I think it's really trying to educate the employers, but also trying to revise the expectations of the students. In terms of access, we've just finished quite an interesting study, and we were talking about this yesterday with the PACE team. Some of the universities have an academic prerequisite for going into placement units. So they might say you need to have a credit course average. And, some of the research shows that students from lower socioeconomic status might not perform as well academically. So that can impact on those groups. And we've gathered data for the last 2 years on our programme to show whether there's a relationship between the course average that students have when they apply for a WIL programme and how they perform during their WIL placement. And we found it's interesting from the student perspective, those that have a higher course average actually rate themselves better in terms of their workplace performance, and they rate on 17 different skills. But the supervisors also rating the students' performance at the end of their placement on the 17 different skills, no difference at all, made absolutely no difference. So I'm actually on sabbatical at the moment, but my big thing when I go back will be to remove any course average prerequisites that we have in place and try and open it up to all of the students, and hopefully that might make a difference, with that, which will go down very well, I'm sure. But anyway, that should open up things up.
We'll be standing right behind you when you do that, Denise.
Okay, yeah. So there's a few things there that might assist.